Well, for all you naysayers out there, this might be called the episode where something finally happens. Now, I am, of course, talking about the most recent episode of The Strain, where things are about to get real, or as real as you can get in a TV show about vampires. But this was where, the episode was called Occultation, and yeah, it basically dealt with the first real spread of the vampire plague. Entire buildings, entire groups of people are getting infected now. So, and lines are being drawn in the sand. The main characters, or at least the ones who actually know what's going on, are telling their loved ones to get out of the city. So we're really picking up speed in terms of pacing and suspense. We're nearing the end of the build-up. This entire show up to this point has really felt like a very long, deep breath before the plunge. Whereas this episode, they're finally at the end of the diving board and they're about to jump off into God knows what. Obviously that's kind of a weird metaphor, but you get my point. This is where things really started to pick up. I'm not really talking in terms of quality because I've always thought this show was pretty good quality. I'm more talking about, like I said, the actual getting to the vampire plague, and a few things undoubtedly held this episode back from greatness, namely in the form of some of the characterization of some of the minor players. But overall, I thought this was another solid episode, and I think it's helped by the fact that we're finally getting somewhere. We're finally seeing the bodies drop, seeing mass or at least infections on a somewhat larger scale than we've been getting. One person at a time. Um, so right away, the acting is particularly good here, and it would be so easy, I think, for any horror movie or any horror TV show, any horror subject matter, to just tell the actors, okay, now scream. But the show does not do that. In fact, these characters are very proactive. They they really know how to balance all of these characters and show them in this scenario without necessarily reducing them to to just screaming. Corey Stoll and Richard Sammel are particularly good here. Not that they haven't been good, but they're really good here. They're put in these new scenarios that they haven't really been put in before. Corey Stoll as a fugitive, no one trusts him. He's arrested by the FBI, and then Richard Sammel really having to prove himself in terms of what he is physically capable of. He straight up threatens Gus, and he basically shows what he is to basically whoever he encountered in this episode. So that was actually really refreshing. Um, and and what I also liked is David Bradley's character Abraham really being overcome. Not necessarily that he dies, but really being physically unable to enact his original plan, which was basically to go house to house, killing every single one of the plane passengers. He's not capable of doing that anymore, or at least not on the grand scale that this job requires, because obviously the passengers of the plane are infecting more and more people. So he's basically run out of the house by the slew of new vampires that have been created, or strigoi that have been created. So that was actually really refreshing, him being essentially at a loss, in being incapable of carrying out his job. Um, and again, really the only parts where this episode falters is in the characterization of the new boyfriend of Ephraim's wife. He really just comes off as a plot device. He just comes off as a tool to get Ephraim arrested. We haven't really seen much in the way of characterization for him up to this point. So for him to suddenly rat out F just seemed kind of irritating, especially again for a character who's been primarily unmotivated up to this point. What else? What else? What else? Oh, the two FBI agents didn't really have much of a personality, but I guess the writers of this show figured, well, it's not like they need much personality because they're going to die in this episode. But on that note, everything else in the episode maintains this show's usual fairly accomplished standards. I mean, it's not exactly one of the greats on TV right now, but I think it's a pretty good vampire drama. I don't really know how they're going to go for a season 2 if they go for the mass plague this season, or if the first season is just going to be complete build up. I don't really know how it can be complete build up considering what goes on in this episode. But yeah, as always, this show's got me hyped, got me it's gotten me watching. It's gotten me to keep watching to find out what's going to happen next with these characters. I like these characters enough to where I don't want them to die. Even the characters who helped make this happen, Sean Astin's character, Jim Kent, I still like him. Miguel Gomez's character, Gus, I still like him. So yeah, I still like this show. And what I actually liked about this episode in particular, again, is and Peter Weller still does a pretty good job directing. I mean, everything, all the technical aspects of the show really remain accomplished here. But what I liked about this episode in comparison to all the other episodes is because this one is really where we can. It's prepping us to hit the ground running. I mean, Abraham's got a new plan to torch all the vampires, and now that F and Nora are completely on his side and have come to see his way of thinking, it'll be interesting to see where this goes from here. And what I actually hope they do tackle is actually something that the game The Last of Us touched on, which is how do you accept that you're going to turn into one of these mindless monsters? I mean, are we going to see any more ethical debates about is this murder, is this not, is there any chance of these people being cured, is there not? I think actually introducing a cure would make for a very interesting decision. Again, I have not read the book series by Del Toro and Chuck Hogan, but I'm just talking in terms of show. Narratively, introducing something like a cure, a monkey wrench like that, would actually make for a pretty interesting twist. But that's just me speculating. And yeah, this episode of The Strain, as always, it's a pretty good episode with some minor flaws. And as always, looking forward to the next one.